the Dinner in Hell band, ladies and gentlemen.
Rock me.
Oh, they're crushing it.
Oh my God! I know the audience appreciates their abilities just as much as we do. They love it.
Yes, thank you.
Sorry they can't play longer. You have to just see them at their gigs. Well,
audience is looking great tonight. Everyone's in a tuxedo.
Cool.
Yeah.
Formal. Well, there's like some kind of thing going on down the street at one of the art galleries.
Yeah.
So that one new one, that weird one, just has like an address, nothing else.
It's like full. They're probably fucking Illuminati.
So what are we doing?
Anyway,
who are we?
Welcome back for another exciting edition of Dinner in Hell, the podcast where two amateur historians talk about the atrocious underbelly of history. I'm one of those co-hosts, Brad the Impaler, and with me, as always, Ron Maiden.
Thank you, Brad. Great to be here. How are you doing today?
I'm doing fantastic.
Today, this episode on today's program, we're going to talk about people getting stoned to death.
Oh.
Probably our most modernistic topic. Well, not probably, factually.
Yep. Well, stoning, or it's properly known as lapidation, is we're going to go back to Dinner in Hell's roots and talk about another execution method. In this case, the condemned is generally executed by being hit by thrown rocks by an organized group of people.
Mm-hmm.
Oftentimes we'll see victims buried up to either the waist or chest when this occurs.
This depends on their
location.
gender.
Yeah, and gender.
Yeah.
Some people don't do it at all. Some people always do it.
I was reading that a man would be buried up to his waist,
mm-hmm.
and a female be buried up to her breasts.
Yeah, I think that might be specific to pre-2002 Iran's criminal law.
2002, ladies and gentlemen, their stoning law.
Yeah, that wasn't BC. That was
like a couple years ago.
Yeah.
Like
probably everyone who's listening to this, almost all of you, were alive then.
Yeah. 2002. Where were you at? Where were you? 2002.
I was a junior in high school.
I was still playing in a band. That was the last year I played in a band. 2002.
And don't expect it to get for that to be the worst part tonight. This is going to be an ugly one, ladies and gentlemen. So
it was pretty funny when I was suggesting to you the topic of stoning.
Mm-hmm.
But I was going to try to send it to you in emojis, in a text.
Uh-huh.
So I'm like scrolling through the emojis. I'm like, where do I find like a stone and like a sad face?
I have only a passing familiarity with the emoji.
Oh,
do a lot of like smiley faces, and like I send the sunglass one a lot.
Yeah.
Generally to indicate a pun that I've made in a text message.
That's your pun emoji?
Yeah.
Okay, good. I'm glad I didn't get the decoder ring.
Or maybe just joke in general probably is more accurate. Anytime I'll make like a wisecrack, usually I'll throw the sunglasses in there.
It's like you got a brick wall behind you. You're on stage doing stand-up.
Yeah.
That's your look.
Yeah.
So here we are doing freaking talking about people getting stoned
to death. Yeah, when you brought up this topic, it really resonated with me. Yeah, if you go around and look at Amnesty International's website or Human Rights Watch, this is a issue with a lot of buzz.
Sorry, I talked over you.
Yeah, we're pretty good buds.
So anyways, these fucking people, they get stoned to death. They get hit in the face and the teeth.
Stoning as an execution method has basically been around since forever.
Right, it's in the Bible.
Yep. I assume that it's because it's so simple. I mean, the only tools you need for it are just laying around all over the place.
Yeah, in the riverbed.
Yes, it seems like with necessity being the mother of invention, before there would have been elaborate machinery and shit like that to execute people. That's why so many different groups of people came up with this as a methodology.
You didn't have to make a tool or anything.
Yeah, exactly. That's why I think it's so kind of widespread, why it pops up all over the world. Yeah, most of the time it's for two kind of different sets of reasons.
Okay.
In the classical world, it's mainly for like crimes against a leader or the nation, like treason, espionage, kind of shit like that. Or
like having conversations with known enemies, nations.
Mm-hmm. And then in, let's say, the Abrahamic tradition with Islam and Judaism, it's generally for moral crimes.
Like what?
Generally having sex with someone that's not a person of the opposite gender that you are currently married to.
What are you saying? Like having sex with a woman that you're not married to, that's illegal sex.
Yes.
Right. Everyone knows that.
Also, all kinds of other stuff that will definitely come up.
Cheating on your wife.
Mm-hmm.
Or wife cheating on the man. Like, the woman would get sentenced to stoning death, and the man would just get flogged.
Yeah, that is true in some cases, yeah.
Flogged, does that mean something goes in something?
No, it means getting beat with a whip.
Okay. Ugh.
No, it'd be like...
That's what I thought it was.
Do you remember from The Passion of the Christ, the cat of nine tails?
Shit.
It probably doesn't have the shit in it, like the gouging stuff.
The rippers.
But it would like fucking seriously fuck up permanently scarring type of beating you would receive from the whip.
Okay.
All right, so first, we can talk about the classical world. In ancient Greece, stoning was definitely a thing. An example would be Aristocrates. He was an Arcadian, and they were allied with Messenia. And Messenia was in the second of two related wars with Sparta. And in 685 BC, Aristocrates betrayed the alliance somehow. That's all there is, the information on it.
Okay.
Yeah, so he somehow betrayed them. He made like a different deal with Sparta for like to save his own skin, or he gave them information, shit like that.
Mm-hmm.
And they stoned him to death. And an interesting wrinkle in this case is they, instead of burying him, they carried him all the way outside of their territory and just chucked him on the ground like they were tossing him out of a bar after he was dead.
Sack of taters.
Yeah.
Hey, we're gonna leave this body here. Hope it don't man.
Seems like an awful lot of work to go through to insult someone who's already dead, but...
You could just dump him in the river, and the river would take him out of the territory.
Yeah.
Let the wolves eat him and shit. The coyotes. You know, those Greek coyotes.
Greek coyotes. Shit, man, they might. I don't know. I don't know where coyotes live. I'm an amateur historian, not an amateur zoologist.
Oh, okay. Hey, I never said you were, man.
Hey, maybe we should start an amateur zoology podcast, too.
I'm Brian Fellow.
Yeah.
That turtle better not jump out of that tank and bite me. Like a turtle could jump. The tortoise sitting there. Like, that turtle better not jump out and snap me. I'm Brian Fellow.
I'm not familiar with Brian Fellow.
From Saturday Night Live? Tracy Morgan. Brian Fellow is not a trained zoologist. Brian Fellow does not have any kind of knowledge or education in animals. And he's like, I'm Brian Fellow. Today we can talk about a baby dog. Like instead of puppy.
I've never seen that.
Holy shit, you're lucky because there's a bunch of good ones.
Yeah, I gotta watch that.
Okay. So, yes.
Yeah, so
coyotes.
there's some other mentions of for crimes like treason getting ancient Greeks stoned to death. So that's an example of how it worked there. Ancient Rome, same thing. Stoning also took place there for similar reasons. Around 80 BC, a legate of Sulla was stoned to death for treason, but some people say he didn't do it. It was a shakedown. He was set up.
Yeah.
Other people say those people are crazy and he definitely did it. Who's to say? Not me, because that was the only mention of it I could find. But yeah, they stoned his ass to death. So you commit treason, you do some conspiracy shit in the classical world, put the rock to your ass. And stoning, also a punishment in Macedonia. A group of co-conspirators who wanted to assassinate Alexander the Great were stoned to death around 340 BC.
Dude, I gotta ask you, Alexander. Now we've talked about Alexander the Great probably like twice now. I think we've talked about him before.
Yeah, he's probably cropped up.
So of all of our shows, how many topics or references do you think we have made that do you think Iron Maiden has a song about?
Oh, man.
Alexander the Great.
That's definitely one.
Khan. They have a Genghis Khan on the first album, I believe. There's another one we did. William Wallace from Drawn and Quartered. There's a song where it's like, freedom. It's about like, they'll never take our freedom. Like, they have a song, it's like William Wallace, but it's like Eddie, with blue paint.
Yeah, there could be, let's see, World War II we have to have at least mentioned, right?
You're thinking 2 Minutes to Midnight?
Aces High.
Oh, Aces High.
We've talked about nuclear weapons, haven't we?
No.
No? Oh, that's going to be a good one.
Have we talked about American natives being killed by the white man? Like, white man came.
Have we?
Run to the hills.
I can barely remember
Trooper.
what we talked about now. The Trooper was
British and the Russians.
Maybe
the mighty roar of the Russian guns.
Yeah.
It's British versus Russian because Eddie's got the flag.
Yeah, when did that happen, though?
Ooh. Why wouldn't we? Maybe we should do a little research.
Yeah, I can't remember what the fuck the Trooper's about.
Maybe we should bless our audience with the backstory on the Trooper War. Possible dinner in hell topic.
It says musket.
The mighty roar of the musket guns?
No, not in that part, but they say musket in the Trooper, don't they?
Oh, yeah. The musket breath or something.
That would have had to have been around...
As a uncertain death.
No, I bet you... Is it Napoleon? Is it about Napoleon?
Dude, Eddie, the famous Trooper, he's got a British flag.
Yeah, he does. It can't be about Napoleon. Okay, it was... The Trooper is in reference to the charge of the Light Brigade, which I should have known because it's a famous charge in British military history during the Crimean War in 1854.
Cool. If you want to hear the uncut version of this Iron Maiden live research, just tweet at us and we'll send it. We'll send you a link.
Yeah, if you really, really have 2 boring minutes to hear some keys clicking, you really want to hear that shit.
The actual conversation of us discussing the backstory of the Trooper lyrics is much longer than what you've just heard. Moving on.
Yeah. Also, from ancient history, well, less than ancient, I suppose, there is also evidence of stoning occurring in the Aztec culture.
Dude, I can't wait. This is like the first time we've talked about Aztec anything.
And I literally don't have anything else to say about it. They've found some paintings showing it, and that's all the evidence that I'm aware of.
Aztec, South American anything is their least touched. We've touched on China. No, we've touched on Japan. We've touched on the samurai. We've touched on... Have we done any...
Russia?
Australian?
Nope.
We haven't done any history on maybe the Aborigines, maybe a battles.
Could, but we never have. Yeah, so the other sort of sort of tradition of stoning that we've got access to, we have much more information about, and that is the tradition of stoning within the Abrahamic religions of Judaism and Islam.
Right, like talking like the whole process of being sentenced to it, being tried, the verdict, how it goes down, who stones them.
Yeah, we have a lot more information about those types of things within the the Abrahamic sort of stoning tradition.
I think we planned on saying it at the beginning of the show, but we freaking just jumped it.
Yeah,
jumped a gun.
We blew by it.
So here we go. This is the deets on stoning. So freaking it's really just gonna bounce along. I think it's just gonna really this stoning episode is just gonna this is a little bit of a heavy one, I think. Yeah, it's because it's like still going on.
Yeah,
it's like, what if you're
it's one of the challenges to my earlier hypothesis that like the world is always improving, is like this has been going on for basically all of time. And, well, no, fuck that. It confirms my original hypothesis because it barely happens anymore.
Okay. So you're saying there's probably like common stonings, probably like, it's Wednesday, stoning Wednesday.
Like every fucking 15 minutes at some point.
Oh. Okay, so you commit adultery, something immoral. You get tried. You have witnesses, eyewitness accounts that they saw you doing it. Judge says, you're sentenced to death by stoning.
Yep.
They put you in the hole, like we already covered how they will bury the man to the waist, the female to the breast. But the thing is the judge gets the first throw. The judge gets the first throw with the stone, and then the witnesses that tried against them, the person, the guilty, they follow, and then after they're done, the whole village gets to throw the stones at you and like finish you off, until you are dead.
Yeah, that sounds like a really, really bad way to go.
And here's the thing, the stone isn't like, you can't use like a boulder, so it's not like crunch, one drop on the head, like just lay down on your stomach, let me just crush your skull. It has to be small enough to not kill on first hit, but not too small to where it's like a pebble, so like the size of like a tennis ball or like a baseball hard ball. Like a softball might be too big, right?
Or like a really good skipping stone.
Jesus, you probably put it in the freaking guy's head with that on the edge.
But yeah, fuck, man.
Yeah, it's probably like smaller than a softball. I mean, they got like,
because it's like if somebody throws a softball-sized rock at you and it hits you in the head, you're probably done right there.
Like freaking judge gets first hit. Like, man.
Well, I wonder if that's where George R.R. Martin got the inspiration for Ned Stark when he says the man who condemns someone to death ought to be the one who carries out the sentence. For episode 1.
Oh, yeah, when he beheads that guy for leaving the guys.
Yeah, the Night's Watch.
Yeah.
Welcome to Dork Hour.
Yeah, dude, welcome back. Game of Thrones references. Yeah, we haven't did that in a while.
Yeah.
So I was thinking, what if the judge had like his own personal freaking stone, like he kept in like a nice buckskin sack, like go get my killing stone.
It would definitely have a name.
Oh,
it would probably have like a woman's name, and it'd be like painted all weird.
Or like the stone of the gods. Go get the stone of the gods.
Or bring me justice.
Yeah, go get justice for me, please. Hurry up now.
Fucking
try
assholes.
Try not to commit adultery on the way to get my stone. Then he gets it, and it's painted real sweet. It's got like designs on it, rhinestones. He just smashes the dude right in the forehead. And then the witnesses get a throw. Now, I'm not sure if you have these notes, but if I read a note where if the person escaped their pit, then their testimony could be tried again and they'd be released.
Yeah, I read that.
Okay.
I think it was like if they can escape the pit,
then
and
their testimony seemed
like reliable, like they didn't recant or whatever.
Yeah,
then they're like, okay, like
you can just go on.
Yeah.
Like, dude, so you're like beat up from these stone hits, man.
But if you get away, maybe it's like the trial by combat in Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
So it's like, well, if you got away, it must have been God's will that you got out of the stoning.
Like, who can't get out of the pit?
Yeah.
A woman, maybe. The woman's just gonna be flopping around there. She's buried up to her chest, dude. You know, you can't freaking get out of that thing.
Yeah, you can't escape.
But a man's only up to his waist. Please, kidding me? I'm out of there. You probably get like 4 good hits on me. I'm out. You might hit my front tooth, bash it out a little. Imagine the teeth bashing out of skulls.
God, that gets me. The teeth getting busted out is one of the things that gets me. It bothers me, makes me squirmy.
But you know what? I bet there's a certain spot on the head that you could smash, like the back of it. Like, like in boxing, they're not allowed to punch in the back of the skull because it's thinner. Mm-hmm. I bet they're like, if you want to do it right, you're going to go up to your waist, you're going to have your hands down, and you're going to have your head available for us to just wail on the back of your skull with this freaking, so we can knock you out. And then we'll just non-stop back of your skull and you'll be out of your misery.
God, it still sounds awful.
I'm trying to think of best case scenario for a freaking stoning sentence, right?
Yeah, yikes. I think the best... Well, let's go back in time. If you're about to get stoned to death, try to kill yourself in a less painful way beforehand. The eternal dinner in hell advice, aside from never go back in time.
Like... if we could go back in time, since we're like smarter and more advanced now, we go back in time and the guy that's sentenced for this friggin' stoning, he's in his cell. He's in like rags and shit. And there's bars. And we're like, look, what, my man, what you gotta do is you gotta kill yourself. You gotta take yourself out of the game. Don't give them what they want. So this is what you're gonna do. You're gonna kill yourself. And they're like, but I am only in this cell. I have nothing. You're like,
The rags?
You got the clothes you're wearing? I'm sorry, but you have to go out nude, bro. If you know what I'm saying. Weave that shit together, make a rope over the bars. Out of here. You're welcome. That's Brad and I. Brad the Impaler and I. We like to take it just a little bit darker. No one asked us for a way to kill yourself with nothing. But we just gave the audience that knowledge.
Yeah, so
if you're ever captured, maybe like locked up abroad, on a trip.
Yeah, if they're gonna execute you in some weird way,
if ISIS has you,
yeah, we'll get to them.
Yeah, because they could probably stone you.
Yeah, they might stone. Theoretically, this is one of the few things we're talking about on the show that you're not off the hook for. This theoretically might happen to you. Stay out of Syria, I guess.
So, did you have... I know you had examples of in the Judaism aspect of stoning, like what would get you sentenced to it? What were the was it crimes or?
Yep. Stoning comes up in both the Torah, the scripture of Judaism, and the Talmud, which is the Jewish oral tradition. In the Torah, the following says you're supposed to be condemned to death if you do these things: pretending to be a virgin, touching Mount Sinai while Moses was receiving the 10 Commandments.
Now, explain that. Like, I'm thinking like there's this big giant rock like Devil's Tower. Like it's definitely a rock.
It's like a regular mountain.
And you're just like kind of leaning on it with one hand, like, just kind of like.
And someone's like, hey,
you're touching it, bro. What are you doing? Moses is right up there doing the commandments, bro.
Yeah, it's time to stone your ass.
Yeah, like, but in reality, it was like people like all like sitting there like worshiping or like.
Yeah, I think he said what he was going to do. Remember Charles, what's his name? Charlton Heston. Like, I will now go receive the bullshit.
You'll take my gun out of my cold dead fucking hand. God damn it. Ape will never kill ape. Wasn't he in Planet of the Apes? Yeah. Friggin' Yeah, there's like grass and shit. There was like people there on the mountain.
I think it was.
So if you're on the mountain,
you're done. You're supposed to get stoned. Of course, also getting you stoned is if you are a homosexual.
I could think of a couple other things that'll get you stoned, bro.
Yeah. In a much better way. You get, the Torah says you're supposed to be stoned if you rebel against your parents.
Right.
How did anybody ever make it past 15?
So I hope all of our listeners, each of our listeners are listening very closely.
Yes.
If you rebel against your parents, you could be stoned to death.
Yeah, you should always listen to your parents, kiddos.
And stop playing Overwatch. Being a necromancer?
Oh yeah, that'll get you stoned. Being a necromancer or a wizard.
What's a necromancer? Like a grave dancer?
Someone who uses magic to raise the dead to
voodoo
work
dolls?
at their bidding.
Oh, we gotta do a voodoo doll episode. The history of the voodoo doll coming soon.
Yeah, there's probably some fucked up shit about voodoo.
Being a necromancer or a wizard.
Yeah. Now it makes me want to go ask Jewish people, like, hey, like, is this necromancer thing real? How do you do that?
Like, would you judge me if I told you right now, if I told you I was a wizard? Would you judge me?
No, I'm friends with a wizard, as a matter of fact, and he certainly doesn't deserve to be stoned to death.
Right.
He's a great guy.
Yeah. Hell of a guy. He's a home brewer. He has a hell of a home brew lager, Pilsner. He's a swell guy.
Another one of my friends who is the wizard's wife is a home brewer.
I knew that.
It's probably his magic seeping through that caused you to intuit that.
Yeah, he told me that through the energy in this studio.
Yeah.
What else?
Well, that's it for the Torah.
Okay.
But in the Talmud, it's also prescribed for incest.
Yikes.
Yep. Bestiality.
Vomit.
A woman exposing herself to a cow.
Hot.
One who sacrifices his children to Moloch.
Cruelness. Because if you know the backstory of Moloch, you'll know why. What else?
Being a stubborn kid.
Molech. You know what that is? You know what that is, right? Everybody knows Molech.
Yeah, Moloch is the Canaanite deity of punishment and fire.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's like, you guys are probably listening going, okay, well, we already know this. Who doesn't know Moloch?
I mean, yeah, because you think, why mock Moloch specifically? Why not say, sacrifice your children, and then that's it?
Yeah, like...
You only get stoned if it's to Moloch.
So, okay, what you're saying is... Okay, like, by the way, if you don't know Moloch, look it up. You know, we're not trying to be Moloch snobs over here.
Yeah, it's fascinating. Get into the Canaanite pantheon.
Right, check it out. So what your point is, essentially, when you're sacrificing your child, you're killing your child. Okay? Mm-hmm. So you're saying it's okay
as long as it's not to Moloch.
Motherfuck. All right.
Well, I mean, God did instruct Abraham to murder Isaac, and he was going to do it, but God stopped him.
You talking about Isaac from Love Boat? The bartender?
Little before my time.
Okay. Expect a Dinner in Hell Isaac meme.
And so in history, if you were a Jew living under Jewish territory, this sort of thing might happen to you if you committed some of those crimes, if you're alive in biblical times.
Yeah, you just watch yourself with the frickin' pretend to be a virgin. Don't be doing that.
So help you God, you strip tease for a cow, you're done for.
Right, and we easy on the homosexuality. That could get you freaking stoned.
Yeah, if you're gonna sacrifice your children for the love of God, not to Moloch.
Yeah, you'll get stoned from that.
Pick somebody else.
Yeah, there's so many different ways to get stoned that aren't incest. Wait, we're talking about stoning.
Yeah,
I'm not talking about huffing computer spray.
Yeah. I feel like I'm walking on sunshine. The other Abrahamic religion in which we find a lot of talk about stoning is, of course, Islam.
Easy
Islam,
now. Easy now. Baby steps.
Yeah.
Careful.
As we know, we do not discriminate amongst religions on this show.
Yeah, we don't care.
I think all of them are bad.
Let's just move on. I know where you're going with this. Our sound guy is like not working today. I don't know where he had a jury duty or something. He's not here.
Yeah, I think we did that routine on the live. We'll leave that. We can't do that bit every episode.
Yeah, like 2 episodes. We made that. You know where we're going. If you're a avid listener, you know where we're going with that. But like I said, what's his name's not here today, so we're doing a raw show.
All right.
Just us, the band, and the audience.
Yeah, so it's more or less in Islam you get stoned to death for the same shit you did in Judaism. It's very similar.
Yeah.
The difference is that the stoning only appears in what's called hadith, which is the words and deeds of the Prophet Muhammad.
Okay.
It's actually not in the Quran whatsoever. And in the Quran, there is a specific penalty given for adultery, and that's 100 lashes of flogging.
Being whipped.
Yeah. But evidently, during the course of his life, which the hadith is a collection of his life, he stoned people to death. So it's a matter of interpretation, which means more.
Stop the clock. Muhammad stoned people himself?
Yeah, they said, I read that he had ordered people, or at least he had condemned them himself.
Okay. Condemning people to die by stoning.
Yeah.
So stoning does not appear in the Quran.
Nope, not once.
But it does in the Bible.
Correct.
You following me?
Yeah.
Dinner in Hell audience? I'm just kidding.
Yeah, we'll let you draw your own conclusions about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and of course there is subtle differences between the two major branches of Islam, the Shia and the Sunni, and for different reasons, drawing upon different aspects of the Hadith, and the Hadith differs between the two groups, does not stop them from coming to similar conclusions, and those conclusions are, in many cases, hey, we should totally stone people to death.
Yeah. They love it. It's like, you get so much out of it, you know? Like firing squad, it's you just pull the trigger, it's like from far away.
Mm-hmm.
It's not as, when you're doing a stoning, when you're, stoning someone to death, you're like standing right there in front of them, like putting everything into it.
Yeah.
You get more of a release out of it.
Jesus Christ, that sounds fucking horrible.
That's what I'm here for.
Another dinner in hell thing that makes me squirm.
Yeah.
That's brutal. So there's generally an interpretation made within Sharia law where it's enacted and has been enacted historically. There's a difference between illegal sex, which includes all of this kind of stuff that we listed that the Torah and the Talmud doesn't like.
Unmarried, for one.
Yeah, it also makes a big difference between a married person committing adultery and just regular premarital sex when neither person is married.
Like teenagers or something.
Yes, if neither person is married, generally the punishment is going to be 100 lashes. But if anybody in the scenario is married, they both get stoned to death. Yeah.
Just don't get married. Keep the stoning down to just some lashes.
Yeah, right?
Woo.
And
marriage is like very rare in these countries. Like,
no, because if you get pregnant and you're not married, that's considered evidence enough.
Oh, shit. Yeah.
And again, not a great time, or I guess there's still not some great places to be a woman in the world. Yeah, I mean, sadly, stoning still occurs today.
You're talking like by like the radical tribal people, like Afghanistan, ISIS people?
In most cases, yes. But to a lesser extent, stoning survives in the Jewish tradition as well.
Really?
In one way. It's generally, I mean, it's not that I'm aware of ever been fatal, like in modern Israel.
You mean like in New York, like they're doing it, like in like Jewish communities? Or are you talking about like in Israel?
I'm definitely sure it happens in Israel. I believe I've heard that it happens in New York City too.
You're talking about Queens, like Brooklyn.
I would not be surprised, but
like
I don't want to say anything without 100% proof.
In the basement of a bagel shop or whatever, like a pastrami place. I don't know what.
Yeah, I didn't have proof of it, but I found more than one article. You know, as soon as I was looking into stoning and Judaism, that pointed me to events that happen in Israel. Mm-hmm. In ultra-Orthodox neighborhoods, they'll have these signs up that say, like, when you come into our neighborhood, please dress modestly. Like, do not defile our neighborhood with your elbows.
Cut off jeans.
Yeah.
Pockets showing.
And to them, like a modestly dressed woman would have her hair covered. She'd have long sleeves. She'd have a long skirt. Definitely not pants. So, like, basically any normal woman would be dressed immodestly. And they've been known to, on occasion, throw rocks at women dressed like this who walk into their neighborhoods.
Yeah.
And specifically, I'm talking about Jerusalem.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That happens.
That happens, but they're not murdering people.
They're just doing it to, like, shame them.
Yes.
Yeah.
And there are a lot of places where...
At least it ain't a bucket of acid or whatever they do. Some of those places I'll throw, like, acid on their face.
Or, like, honor killings and shit like that. Fucking horrifying. But there's still... This shit still goes on today in the, like, and as the real deal kind of sense. In Afghanistan, it's technically illegal, but like you said, it still happens from tribal leaders and people like out in the sticks where the rule of law doesn't really apply.
Right.
Yeah, where they don't really have contact with their government.
Right.
They still do it out there. Brunei introduced stoning, flogging, and amputation as punishments in 2013. Wasn't a punishment in 2012. Was a punishment in 2013.
Amputation, like chop your hand off.
Yeah, if you steal, losing a grabber there.
Yeah.
Seems severe to me. Just saying. Another place we hear a lot, but a lot of what I assume is propaganda, but a lot of it I also assume is true. Iran, they technically removed stoning, like we said earlier, as a punishment in 2002, but like they refuse to say that they're never going to do it again, no matter what. Like they are like kind of like pouting about it. I don't know. It might just be posturing. They might want to do it. I mean, they do have a theocracy. They have a supreme ruler. That's the religious ruler. So, of course, they're behaving that way. That's why you don't mix government and religion, folks.
Iran's like, okay, we're not going to do it for now. Okay, so promise us you're never going to do it again. Say it, Iran. What are you going to say? Say it.
No.
I'm not telling you that it'll be forever now. Come on. Just for now.
Yeah. And, I mean, to lend credence to that sort of feeling, though, it has for sure happened once since 2002, so probably might happen again. It's a reasonable conclusion to think that it might happen again. Earlier it came up, too. People get stoned more than anywhere else in the world inside the territory of the ISIS, of the Islamic State.
When you said people get stoned more than any area of the world, I thought you were going to say Amsterdam.
not the good stoned. We've moved on to the bad stoned.
Amsterdam.
Harmless, stoned, harmful, very stoned.
ISIS stoning people. Yeah, like they grabbed like a couple.
Mm-hmm.
No, they stoned a woman just for being in the room with two men alone. They weren't even doing anything.
Yeah.
Like, they just busted in and was like, you're with these two men? You're getting stoned.
Yeah, what a bunch of fucking pricks, man. Jesus Christ.
I don't even want to get into it. I don't even want to even give them any of our Twitter followers out there. We don't want to give them exposure to them. Their fame.
Yeah. I mean, that's not there's still more. In Iraq, extrajudicial stonings have occurred, like illegal ones. In 2012, a Shiite sort of group of extremists stoned at least 14 people to death as a campaign against emos.
Emos?
Yep.
What do you mean by that? Like
fucking people who love My Chemical Romance.
Musicians and
yeah, people who are into like My Chemical Romance or like Dashboard Confessional.
I was going to say that.
Yeah, they were like, anybody who was caught like swooping their hair over to the side, they fucking stoned 14 people to death for being emo.
Really?
Yeah, in 2012.
That's crazy. They're like, what's your favorite band? Like, freaking My Chemical Romance. Why? Fall Out Boy.
Yeah, you're done for. They were stoning people to death for this shit in Iraq. How insane is that?
Well, Iraq had some stuff.
Yeah, there's also some places like in Nigeria, stoning is a legal penalty, and a couple of people have been sentenced to it, but they've never carried it out.
Oh, okay.
Like Nigeria is, for whatever, it's much more easy to manipulate than Iran is. A poorer country, they don't have that strong of a military.
They don't have like anything like the trade.
Yeah, so when like Iran might have nuclear weapons, like you can't bully them around like you can bully around Nigeria. Iran's got a strong military and stuff, so
we probably buy oil from Iran. We don't buy shit from Nigeria.
Probably like cell phone parts, like them raw minerals.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, if you're not in America, chances are there's some way we're exploiting you. Yeah, so anytime they sentence somebody to it, like Amnesty International gets involved and international pressure, they never go through with it. Most of the time, the sentences get thrown out on appeal, so the people don't get any punishment. It's probably like some rogue official, because Nigeria probably tells people, like, yeah, I know we say we're going to do that, but we're never going to do that. And some rogue judge tries to, like, make it happen. And then they let them off on appeal. So they don't get punished at all. That's something that occurs.
Yeah.
Saudi Arabia, well, if ISIS does it, and they're all Wahhabi, yeah, you betcha. Stoning is a legal punishment in Saudi Arabia. United Arab Emirates? Yep. They stone people to death there, too. And boy, oh boy, we're going to close out this one with a rotten one here. In Somalia, Al-Shabaab militants in 2008 reported that they had stoned to death a 23-year-old murderer named Aisha Dahulo. And now, I get people who support capital punishment. I get it. I don't know if I agree or not. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. But for a murderer, you think, all right, why is that bad? Like, is stoning, like, so horrible that it could never be, used to take out a murderer? Like, what if it was, like, BTK or something? Would you really care if you got stoned to death?
You would want certain people to be stoned to death, I think.
Yeah.
Like Joffrey.
Except the reason that doesn't apply in this scenario is because when they looked into it, Aisha Dahulo wasn't a 23-year-old murderer. She was a 13-year-old refugee girl who, when trying to report that she had been raped, was convicted of adultery and then buried up to her neck in a soccer stadium and then stoned to death for adultery in front of a crowd of 1,000 people.
And isn't according to the laws, you can only be sentenced for that from the age 14 up?
Yeah, that's what I read, is that even in the most hardline Islamist theocracies, you can't be charged with adultery until you're 14, which is still fucked up.
Didn't you
The marriage age is 14. Shouldn't be getting married when you're 14.
Right.
But, I mean, that's what you get when you use laws that were made long time ago.
Yeah.
They're not going to apply to the modern world.
Right.
Yeah, but that's how fucked Al-Shabaab is.
Man, I'd go for some shish kebab right now. Some freaking garlic. Oh, you don't eat Middle Eastern. Oh, you're missing out on that garlic spread with the fresh pita bread that's coming out of the oven. You don't even know.
I'm kind of hungry. It does sound good.
It's so good. There's like, yeah. So earlier, I made a comment that made Brad squeamish. That happens from time to time on the show. One of us will be just like taken off guard. Or, yeah. If you have a moment that you remember from the show, one of our episodes that stands out in your mind, what is that moment? Contact us, message us on Twitter, Facebook, whatever you want to do. SoundCloud, you can do comments. Let us know.
You can post it on YouTube as a video reply.
We want to know. We love you. We love our audience that's here.
Yeah, oh man. Those tuxedos are still crisp. They're looking real fresh.
Some of you guys rented them. I already know. I'm not going to purchase it. Who purchases a tuxedo? Dinner in Hell Band. Oh, what about our addresses? Like Facebook, Twitter.
Oh, yeah. At Twitter, you can talk to us at Dinner in Hell Pod. We're at dinnerinhell.com. You can email us at dinnerinhellpodcast@gmail.com. And don't forget to rate and subscribe on iTunes and YouTube. Thank you and good night.
Dinner in Hell Band, dude. Don't be good nighting yet.
Oh, so good. Best house band in podcast history, calling it.
I like how tight the ending is.